Mary Ann Sailors sits in her kitchenette and praises the Lord for porridge pop-de-ping.
In Cipollina's cafe, a professor of painting chews on a crumpet and counts the days to retirement. Since the old College of Art was merged into the new university, he has been completely marginalized, but his new masters are unable to make him redundant because of the detailed provisions of the bequest attached to the chair of painting. They have made it clear to him that his salary will be better spent on a new laser cutter in the Department of Creative Digital Design Sciences, as the former college is now known.
Elsewhere, the aspirations of the night are trashed and smashed, dreams are dashed in daylight.
From the pavement, opposite the new Centre for Performing Arts, Frank Lloyd George sullenly surveys the silver-clad super-sized soap dish claiming to be his creation. Any hope of finally achieving his lifelong ambition to be accepted as Welsh national architect had vanished like the plywood hoardings that had screened the construction of this abomination. These people never learn. Like moths to flames, compelled to play the game, they have to take the blame and bear the shame. How can one explain the pain of talent spent to no avail? The laws of public projects will prevail.
Any enterprise will be scrutinized, compromised, and neutralized before the project is authorized and publicized. Contracts may be signed and buildings designed and plans refined, but once presented, maligned, the proposals declined, and the budgets realigned, the final decision resultant on cost consultants. Then carefully detailed and specified, certified, ratified, misapplied, and finally rectified. Departments the size of small cities appoint men to committees which are supplemented by representatives from any organization remotely concerned with the project. All are equal at the committee table, but those responsible for funding are more equal than others. All evidence must be weighed, additional consultants paid, information relayed, decisions delayed, and then formally conveyed. This is called exercising probity in public expenditure.
Of course, such proceedings do not apply to the private sector, which is concerned with profit.
Ah, those were the days, mutters Frank Lloyd George.
Shifting his 18 stone of malignant fat, sweat condensing on the lenses of his bottle-bottom spectacles, Scoop Jones, chief reporter of the Ponty Express, reaches for another corporate PR release to be fitted between the advertising in the next super souvenir supplement. The self-styled voice of the valleys has no shortage of material or illusions about objective journalism. The editorial line is unswerving on the parallel tracks of falling circulation and advertising revenue. Thou shalt suck up to those who pay our wages. By redaction, he reduces the repetitive counterclaims for credit from contributors. Buried in his bulk, the remaining 18-ounce shadow of his former self leaks a continuous, insidious critique of the words appearing before him.
Polly Garter breakfasts in the penthouse suite of the Esplanade Hotel and fails to outstare the exceptionally large and vicious-looking seagull that watches her from an ornamental iron table on the wet balcony outside. As she lifts a forkful of lightly scrambled egg to her as-yet unpainted lips, the seagull squeezes out a few pints of guano. She returns the fork to the plate untouched and decides to give the muesli and Muller yogurt a miss.
The professor of painting pauses near the rotting ruin of the former Art College building, as he does most mornings. It has remained boarded up through successive failed redevelopment projects, repossessions, and fraud squad investigations. A tattered impression of luxury studio apartments fades into the plywood shuttering that barricades the once elegant portico. Light rain drifts in through the tall, shattered windows of the top-floor studios. He shakes his head sadly and walks into the atrium of the former telephone exchange, built in the 1970s, and now the Department of Creative Digital Design Sciences.
Mary Ann Sailors says softly to herself as she looks out from her kitchen window over the wheelie bins in the service yard, "It is spring, and I am in the damp, dreary drizzle of my twilight years, but this is the chosen land.
At the rear of the new Centre for Performing Arts, the Welsh flag hangs wet and limp above the site offices of Llewellyn Glyndwr and Sons, Construction, established 1894. Now the wholly owned subsidiary of the French multinational, which also cleans the hospitals, operates the car parks, empties the bins, and sweeps the streets of the former town. The former family business has been revived under the regional directorship of Owen Cherry Owen. A one-time major in the Royal Engineers, he has made something of himself since his almost dishonourable discharge, the discrepancies in the mess accounts being resolved and the honour of the regiment preserved. His previous experience of building and construction in the Principality amounted to 6 months building targets for tank practice on Mynydd y Punt and 3 days supervising the construction of a rostrum for a visit from the Prince of Wales. His several sisters had, however, married often and well, divorcing amicably and adding to his existing list of contacts a range of current and former brothers-in-law among the small, self-selected elites who controlled committees concerned with construction contracts.
Outside the Dick Penderyn Mixed Infant School, a blonde beehive in a four-wheel drive has just arrived. As she triple parks to drop off little Jaden and Jordan, a passing ambulance nearly scratches her cattle bar. "Some people just have no consideration," she screams, slamming the door. Gossamer Bynon watches her drive off from the window of her prefabricated flat-pack classroom, then returns to her laptop where she's been scouring the jobs market. She closes the lid, resigned to a further day at the chalk face, and walks to the assembly hall, the plywood floors flexing beneath her feet.